They don't say it out loud, but you can feel it. People shift when you walk into the room. Their smiles stiffen. Their laughter fades. Conversations trail off mid-sentence. It's not because you're rude or arrogant, or even doing anything wrong. It's because there's something about you. An invisible intensity they can't explain, but can't ignore. You ask deep questions. You listen intently. You speak with clarity and intention. And when you look someone in the eyes, they often look away. You've been told you're too serious, too intense, that you overthink everything. But what if you're not too much? What if, as Carl Jung once believed, your presence carries something far more powerful? An energy not soft and mystical, but psychological and real. A silent force that challenges others without a single word. People aren't afraid of you. They're afraid of what they see in you, reflections of their own insecurities, their own fears, their own masks. So they pull back, they avoid, they whisper, they shrink. Not because you're unsafe, but because your presence is unfiltered, and honesty unsettles those who are used to hiding. Jung spent his life exploring this. The psychic energy that radiates from people who've faced their inner darkness and embraced their authentic self. This kind of presence doesn't announce itself. It simply is. Not because you're broken, but because you're rare. And in a world obsessed with ease, rare energy is often misunderstood. Most people think of an aura as some glowing spiritual light, but Jung saw it differently. To him, an aura wasn't something you could see. It was something you could feel. A field of energy shaped by your thoughts, your emotions, and, most importantly, your unconscious mind. And this energy speaks before you do. It enters the room with you. It shifts the air. It stirs something in others, even if they don't know why. Jung called it the unconscious transmission of the self. It's the invisible influence that arises when someone has explored their inner truth, their pain, their shadow. The more you confront those hidden places, the more your energy changes. You begin to walk differently, not because you're trying to stand out, but because you've stopped pretending. You've stopped hiding. You've stopped needing approval. You've become aligned with who you truly are, and people feel it, even if they don't understand it. It's in your stillness, your eye contact, the weight of your silence. Jung believed this kind of presence could unsettle others, not through words or actions, but through energy. Because your very existence reflects what others are avoiding, their false selves, their unspoken fears. That's why people may keep their distance, why they might misinterpret you, why they sometimes feel intimidated, even if you are kind, soft-spoken, and thoughtful. Your presence speaks directly to something they've buried, and not everyone is ready to hear that message. Understanding this changes everything. We are not just minds and bodies. We are walking mirrors, living symbols, carriers of unseen influence. And the more truth you live, the more powerful and intense your energy becomes. Sign 1. People say, you're too intense. Even when you're just being honest. You speak from a deeper place, not to impress, not to control, but to connect. Yet your words tend to pierce the surface. You speak the truths others avoid. You say what people only dare to think, and it makes them uncomfortable. They call you too serious, too much, too deep, but what they really mean is, you make me feel something I'm not ready to face. Jung believes some people carry energy that wakes up the unconscious in others. It calls out illusions. It stirs up identity. And it's not the words themselves, it's the energy behind them, the depth, the presence. For those who cling to surface-level comfort, this can feel threatening. But your intensity isn't hostility. It's not superiority. It's emotional honesty. And few people can sit with that without flinching. Sign 2. Small talk physically drains you. You can sense it immediately. The rehearsed, empty rhythm of shallow conversation. Nice weather today. What do you do? Did you catch that show? It's not that you're unfriendly. You try, you smile, you respond, but something inside you resists. Jung believed those with strong inner awareness are naturally repelled by anything inauthentic. Ever feel like people either spill their secrets to you or avoid you completely? Like your very presence either draws them in or makes them shrink back. It's not random. It's not just personality. It's something deeper, something energetic. Before we dive in, I want you to think about this. Have you ever been called too intense just for being honest? Drop your experience in the comments. I want to hear how it shows up in your world. And if you're serious about unlocking the deeper layers of who you are, check out my ebook, Guided by the Greats, A Path to Self-Growth. The link's in the pinned comment and video description. Now, let's get into it. Small talk often serves as a shield, a way to avoid real connection. So, when you're in those conversations, your aura sends a different signal. This isn't real. Let's talk about something that matters. But that quiet energy disrupts the social script. It breaks the illusion, and people feel it. Even if you never say a word, they might label you as cold or antisocial. But the truth is, your soul is starving for realness, and your aura makes that hunger visible. Sign number 3. You attract confessions and emotional dumping. Strangers tell you their life stories. Friends show up when they're breaking. You've been called a therapist more times than you can count, even though you never asked for it. It's not coincidence. Jung believed that some people carry the unconscious archetype of the healer, even if they're not in a healing profession. Your presence radiates emotional safety, depth, stillness. People sense that they can open up to you, even if they barely know you. But here's the paradox. You rarely feel seen in return. You listen, you hold space, you absorb. But few ever ask how you're doing. It creates a strange kind of loneliness, surrounded by emotion, but starved for connection. Your aura might be magnetic to pain, but intimidating to those afraid of their own. Sign number 4. People avoid eye contact with you. You walk into a room and feel it. People shift. They glance, then quickly look away. The tone drops, the vibe changes. Sometimes they avoid you altogether. Other times, they stare, but never speak. Jung taught that when you've integrated parts of yourself that others deny, you unconsciously mirror what they've suppressed. Your gaze becomes more than eye contact. It becomes a confrontation. They're not just looking at you, they're seeing themselves through you. And if they're not ready for that reflection, they retreat, they flinch. They label you intimidating, even when you're being nothing but kind. Your presence demands honesty, not because you force it, but because your energy already is. Sign number 5. Your presence triggers strong reactions without you doing anything. You're just there, breathing, being, and someone shifts, gets defensive, irritated, dismissive, and you're left wondering, what did I do? Jung believed that integrated people, those who face themselves, disturb the unconscious of others. Your stillness is unsettling. Your presence is a mirror, and in that mirror, others see what they've hidden. Insecurity, envy, shame. You don't even need to speak. Your energy is already saying everything. This is the silent strength of a developed aura. You don't seek attention, but your existence calls others to look at themselves. And most, they're not ready. Sign number 6. You can't tolerate fake personas, and people feel it. You see through masks, fake laughs, surface-level charm, performative small talk. You spot it instantly. Feel it before your mind can name it. This isn't judgment, it's perception. Jung believed that shadow integration leads to psychological wholeness, and wholeness can sense fragmentation in others. So, when someone's faking it, your aura sends a signal. I see the truth behind the performance. Most aren't ready for that. They get anxious, defensive, or just call you too much and back away. Not because you expose them, but because your presence makes their illusion hard to maintain. Sign number 7. You make people second-guess themselves. You ask the questions no one else does. You challenge what's assumed. You don't accept normal just because it's common. And because of that, people get flustered around you. They backpedal. They over-explain. They second-guess things they normally say without thinking. This isn't manipulation. It's the psychic weight of your clarity. Jung said that a deeply self-aware person becomes a contradiction to the collective. Your calm unsettles anxiety. Your self-trust reveals self-doubt. Your groundedness destabilizes ego. You don't argue, you don't push, but your presence shakes false certainty. And in a world addicted to performance, that makes you quietly dangerous. Sign number 8. People open up to you, then pull away. You've seen it before. Someone opens their heart, cries, confesses, connects deeply, and then they ghost. They distance themselves. They act like it never happened. Why? Because being seen is terrifying, and your presence doesn't just see people, it feels them. It hears what isn't said. That level of raw contact is rare, and it's beautiful, but it also terrifies people who are used to hiding behind personas. So they retreat, not because you did anything wrong, but because you reached a place in them they weren't ready to visit. They tell you their secrets. They say you understand them like no one else. For a moment it feels real, unfiltered, deep. Then, suddenly, they vanish. The texts stop. The warmth fades. You're left wondering what changed. This emotional whiplash isn't your fault. It's the shadow at work. Jung taught that when someone is truly seen, not flattered, not appeased, but understood, it wakes up parts of them they've buried. Your presence didn't hurt them. It revealed them. And that kind of clarity is terrifying when someone isn't ready to face their pain, their trauma, or their deeper truth. So they retreat. Not because you did something wrong, but because you unknowingly opened a door they weren't ready to walk through. You didn't break the connection, you just made it too real. Sign number 9, you intimidate people without trying, especially those in power. You walk into a room and the dynamic shifts. Your boss gets strangely tense. The loudest voice quiets down. People who usually dominate the space stumble over themselves. You haven't said a word, but your energy says, "I'm not easily controlled." Jung believed that when someone integrates their inner power, the archetype of the king or queen, they begin to radiate a quiet sovereignty. It doesn't posture, it doesn't seek dominance, it simply is. And that presence shakes anyone who builds their authority on fear or control. Some respect you for it, others resent you. Because without saying a word, your aura communicates, "You don't hold power over me." And for people who depend on status to feel worthy, that's the most threatening thing you could ever say. Sign number 10. You walk into someone's life with kindness, with honesty, with no hidden agenda, and somehow you end up the villain. They say you're arrogant, too intense, too emotional, too cold. They twist your silence into judgment, your self-respect into ego, your solitude into rejection. This isn't about you, it's about projection. A defense Jung called one of the most dangerous blind spots in human relationships. When someone refuses to face their flaws, they unconsciously assign them to others. And those with strong, developed, spiritually attuned auras, they become the perfect screen, because your presence reflects what they're trying to hide. You didn't become the villain, you just refused to play the victim. And that disrupted the story they were trying to tell themselves. Sign number 11. Strangers are drawn to you, and they don't know why. You're at the store, the airport, a waiting room. Suddenly someone opens up. They tell you something personal. They pause and say, "I don't know why I'm telling you this." There's no small talk, just emotion, depth, truth. As if they've been waiting for someone like you to show up. Jung called this numinous energy. It's not charm, it's not charisma. It's the gravity of the soul. People sense it. They don't know what they're feeling, only that they feel safe. Seen, as if you carry something ancient. Your aura operates like a spiritual lighthouse, quiet, unwavering, even if you're not seeking anything, even if you've never called yourself spiritual. Others, especially the hurting and the lost, feel drawn to you like a silent calling. Sign number 12. You can feel the energy of a room within seconds. You step inside and know something's off. Tension lingers in the air. Unspoken resentment hums beneath the surface. Masks reveal themselves before a single word is spoken. To others, it seems like you have a sixth sense, but what you have is psychic attunement. Jung called it psychological intuition, the unconscious intelligence that perceives what language can't. You don't need proof. You feel truth, you sense lies. You don't just observe energy, you absorb it. And that's the double-edged sword. Your spiritual sensitivity opens you to deeper layers of human experience, but it also makes you vulnerable to overload. You pick up signals others don't even know they're sending, and unless you're careful, you'll carry emotions that were never yours to begin with. Sign number 13. You've always felt not of this world, and others feel it too. There's a loneliness inside you that's hard to explain, not from a lack of people, but from a difference of essence. Since childhood, you've felt like an outsider, even among friends, even in your own family, as if you were born with ancient eyes in a world that only sees surfaces. Jung believed that some are born with a calling from the self, a deep inner voice pulling them toward wholeness, growth, transformation. These people don't fit easily into the world. They live at the edges. They question what others accept. They carry a wisdom that feels otherworldly. You are one of them. And even if the world can't always name it, they feel it when you walk in. Your aura carries weight. It holds depth, mystery. It stirs something ancient in those who cross your path. Some are drawn to it, some are unsettled by it, but very few can ignore it, because whether they realize it or not, they're standing in the presence of someone who doesn't quite belong to this world, but was sent to change it. You've seen it happen more than once. You enter a space and something shifts. People become guarded, awkward, distant, sometimes even strangely cold, and you're left wondering why. You didn't challenge anyone. You didn't dominate the room. You were just being yourself. But that's the thing. Your authenticity is the disruption. When your aura carries self-awareness and wholeness, it doesn't blend in. It confronts. It reflects. Carl Jung taught that every human carries a shadow, a hidden part of the psyche, filled with the traits we deny, suppress, or fear. Most people spend their lives keeping it buried. But when someone with an integrated aura enters the room, that shadow gets stirred. Your presence whispers, "I've faced myself." Have you? And for many, that's not a welcome question. The ego, our fragile, curated self-image, fights against that kind of honesty. It doesn't want truth. It wants to feel in control. It wants to believe, "I'm fine just the way I am." So, when your presence disrupts that illusion, you become the threat. Not because you're aggressive, not because you're imposing, but because you're evolved. Your aura reflects someone who has burned away the false self and rebuilt themselves from the inside out. That kind of energy can't be faked, and it makes people nervous. Instead of saying, "I want to grow like that," they say, "You're too much," because rare energy feels dangerous. We live in a world that rewards conformity, being loud, being likable, staying on script. Surface-level interaction feels safe. But when someone enters with stillness, presence, and soul depth, they shatter the social illusion. You don't chase approval. You don't play roles. You don't seek to be liked. Your energy asks something most people aren't ready to hear. What else is there? And that creates emotional dissonance, a quiet discomfort when truth begins to rise in someone who's been asleep to it. Rather than face it, they project. They judge, they retreat, because it's easier to say, "You're too intense," than admit, "I'm not living honestly." You are a mirror, and mirrors aren't always welcome. Your presence reflects people back to themselves. To the open, this feels magnetic. To the fragmented, it feels invasive. They're not rejecting you, they're rejecting the part of themselves your energy quietly exposes. Your aura is a gift, but it's one that comes with solitude. Jung once said, "The privilege of a lifetime is to become who you truly are." But becoming who you truly are doesn't come with applause. It comes with silence. It comes with self-confrontation. It comes with walking through life misunderstood. Because wholeness will always be rare, and rare things are often feared. Most people never begin that journey. It's easier to keep playing roles, easier to live at the surface. But if you've made it this far, you're not like most people. You feel what others ignore. You see what they deny. You ask the questions that interrupt their comfort, not to be difficult, but because your soul was built for truth. And truth has a cost. The discomfort you feel in small talk, the pull to walk away from performative relationships, the pain of being too quiet, too intense, too deep. These are not flaws, they're signals. They mean you're evolving. And when your aura expands, the world in many ways becomes smaller. Fewer connections, more silence, but deeper roots. Because most people were born into a mold, told who to be, taught how to act, and never learned how to become. But you're becoming. And becoming always changes the room. You were never wired like the others. Not in how you think, not in what you feel, and certainly not in what you seek. You were never meant to fit in. You were meant to awaken. And with awakening comes resistance. Not just from the world around you, but from those closest to you. Not because they're unkind, but because your presence reminds them of the inner work they've postponed. You are a mirror they didn't ask for, a light they aren't ready to walk toward. But still, you shine. Carl Jung once said, A lonely day is God's way of saying that He wants to spend some quality time with you. Maybe that's what this solitude really is. Not exile, but initiation. Maybe the silence isn't punishment. Maybe it's preparation for wisdom, for strength, for the kind of clarity most never touch in a lifetime. Because when your aura unsettles people, it's rarely about you. It's the message you carry, a truth their soul remembers, but their mind can't yet translate. So you feel the distance. You hear the labels. Too intense, too emotional, too much, but none of it sticks. Because you know what it really is. You're not too much. You're just rare. You weren't designed to be palatable. You weren't meant to be easy to digest. Your insight, your fire, your stillness, they don't belong to a world built on noise. And while some will flinch in your presence, the right ones won't. They'll breathe easier when you speak. They'll feel steadier in your silence. Because your aura doesn't just exist, it reminds. It reminds people of what's possible when someone decides to live without pretense, to feel without shame, to walk toward truth, no matter how lonely the road. So the next time you feel yourself shrinking to make others comfortable, remember, you were never meant to be small. You were meant to be whole.